Hello! Welcome to Gutter Trash, episode 365, Black Blizzard by Yoshihiro Tatsumi. I think.
Yeah, that's right. That sounds right.
My name is Eric.
I'm Jason.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
It's going well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
How about you? Things all right?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Well, then we're in the right place. Because it's all golden from here on out tonight.
Yeah.
Black Blizzard.
Black Blizzard.
Is this is only the second Japanese comic we've ever read. I think I called it a manga last episode, and I found out between then and now that this is not considered a manga.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, so I read this little interview with Yoshihiro Tatsumi, and he talks about how in the 50s there was this, like, basically this stable of artists who were doing manga, which is, just Japanese for comics, but it's primarily thought of, I guess, as kids' comics.
Okay.
And they were trying to do more like graphic novel type stories and things like that. So they called it, I actually just looked it up on my phone because it's a term I'd never heard of. Gakiga.
Okay.
Which I'd never heard that term before.
Sounds hard to pronounce.
Yeah, Gakiga.
Yeah.
Which translates to dramatic pictures in English.
So basically, it's the same pretentious douchebags who try to get graphic novels, as the main term, or sequential art.
When I'm reading my Rob Liefeld sequential graphic novel narratives, I know that there's a difference between those and the funny books that you read, like your Alan Moore tripe. There is a difference, sir.
Fuck it. They're all comics.
Yeah, they are all comics. Sure. Yeah. But I mean, I guess,
like you said, manga. It's Japanese for comics.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess, so, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I guess this is just manga, but
yeah.
I think it was an attempt to move away from what they were all at least working in.
Right.
Because he had done, Tatsumi had done a bunch of, like, more kid-friendly manga type stuff. But this one is more of a like, I don't know, not a murder mystery, but it has a mystery and it has some violence and crime and
there is murder.
I mean, yeah, I guess it is a murder mystery.
A mystery or surrounding that murder.
Sure. But when I think of murder mystery, I think of like your classic, like, one of us got murdered. Who did it? It's one of us.
Yeah. Like comics, murder mystery can encompass many different things.
That's true. Yeah.
So I read this entire thing before I realized that this is possibly you were kind of saying that this is only the second Japanese comic that we've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be the oldest comic that we've ever read.
I think so too. I was thinking that because it's from the 50s.
Yeah, which is a thing I did not realize until I was finished reading it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Even though it clearly says so, like
on the cover, yeah.
On the cover, or
I mean, it's not not like bold. It's just there. If you look,
but it is plainly there on the cover, and I just did not see it.
Yeah.
But
well, it's a new version.
It is,
so it doesn't look old.
It's a couple of years old, yeah. But while I was reading it, I was like, well, this seems old.
Dated, yeah.
Yeah. Not so much dated, even. Just...
Yeah, I mean,
it's got...
it kind of has that feel of like an old crime...
Yeah.
Like a black and white crime movie.
Sort of. But, like, I mean, honestly, like, there's very little about it that I would say plainly sets itself in the 50s.
Right.
Like everyone's fashions are all relatively generic enough that it...
Yeah.
like, nobody uses a cell phone or anything like
Right.
that, and nobody's really watching TV, but, like, nothing is really presented as being
Yeah,
old.
that's true. Yeah.
And like, even, like, the entire scenario that the characters go through, like, you could easily buy it happening now,
Sure.
just as well as, like, 1956.
Right.
So, like I said, there is something about it that definitely gives it an old-timey feel, but, like, I didn't fully realize that it was old-timey. Like, honestly, like, if you'd asked me without reading it, I would have said, I don't know, was this made in, like, the 70s, maybe?
Right. Yeah. So what is this Tale of the Black Blizzard?
It's a murder mystery, didn't you just say that? It's a Japanese comic called
Gakiga.
and it's by Yoshihiro Tatsumi.
Yeah, I guess we did say all that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more. There's a lot more.
There is. So, it's basically about two criminals who are being transferred, I guess, to prison or whatever. Being escorted by a police officer on a train. There happens to be a blizzard, probably the titular blizzard,
Yes, sir.
which causes the train to go off the rails and crash.
Mm.
And our two criminals survive the crash, and they're handcuffed together. And one of them is definitely, I would say, more of your traditional hardened criminal.
Yeah, right. He's a thug. He's like an
he
old.
is,
He's
yeah.
like a big old thug.
Yeah, he's decides that he's going to take this opportunity to escape, and does not give a shit that he's got some guy chained to him,
Right.
who would probably rather not escape.
Yeah, which is weird.
Sure.
I mean, given that opportunity, wouldn't you? Like, even if you were like, well, you know, shit. I mean, I'm being arrested for something, and this is obviously going to ruin my life. But
Right.
you know, but I'm a moral man, and if this is how society deems to, you know, enact its retribution on me, I guess I'll do it.
Sure.
But then if you're presented with the opportunity in a train wreck, like, how could you not just try to escape?
Right? I mean, you know, there's, you know, certain things to be said for either way of thinking. But, you know, he and we don't know anything about either of these characters
Oh
yet.
yeah, when it starts out,
Yeah.
I think wasn't there like a brief flashback at the beginning?
At the very beginning, we see, I guess, what we would call our main character.
We see him get arrested, basically.
Yeah. And he seems just resigned to his fate pretty early on. So clearly depressed and guilt racked, and just knows
Yeah.
that punishment is coming for him, and whatever it is, he seemingly thinks he deserves it.
Yeah, he doesn't seem surprised when the policeman shows up at his house. He's like just like violently, fervently playing this piano in his apartment, and a cop shows up and arrests him. And that's how it starts.
Yeah. So then, like, a good portion of the book is our two heroes, for lack of a better word, escaping from the police in the middle of a horrible blizzard through the woods.
Right. That does sound awful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's been cold and snowy here, and
We just complain like walking out to the car.
Right.
Yeah. With shoes on and
Right.
mittens.
and not connected to other people.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we handcuff ourselves to each other.
That's just for fun.
That's, yeah.
and usually indoors.
Indoors, yeah, mostly. Yeah. But yeah, so this is a scenario I think I've seen since I was a child on things like criminals attached to one another, usually in more like slapstick comedy routines. Like, I think there was maybe an Abbott and Costello.
I'm sure there was.
I can't remember for sure, but I know there was something when I was a kid where it was like,
oh, brother, where art thou?
that was it. No, like, ever since I was a kid, I've seen something like that. And
It's a fairly common scenario.
Yeah.
Usually I've seen it like in a dramatic fashion. I could not point to...
like in Gekigas?
Huh?
Like in Gekiga?
Right, yeah.
Dramatic comics?
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, I couldn't think of other than Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, or the Lawrence Fishburne, Stephen Baldwin classic, Fled.
Wasn't there... I think there's another movie that I saw where it's like a black dude and a white guy chained to each other.
Fled.
I mean, but I think it's like...
Lawrence Fishburne, Stephen Baldwin.
I think this is like a 70s one or something.
Yeah, there's been tons of them, yeah.
And they're like going through the South, and like not only are they both hunted, but the black prisoner is a little more persecuted. Like,
sure.
People are actually trying to help the white guy like unchain himself from the black guy,
right? But
then they don't really care about like what happens to the black guy. It's really weird.
Yeah. America.
Yeah, it's called America. Yeah, yeah, yeah. At least we're not a shithole country, right?
Damn right.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. It's a Black Blizzard.
Black Blizzard, yeah.
So you know, we get that, and a good portion of it is we get to learn the backstory of how our young hero wound up in his current situation.
Oh yeah. And it's all about it's a moral tale about not drinking.
Kinda.
Because he's a fucking drunk.
Yeah. Well, he has a good excuse. He's depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he does.
His doctor prescribed alcohol too.
Yes. Well, it was the 50s.
Like, try quarts of gin.
Yeah,
that should help.
I wish my doctor would subscribe to
that. So yeah, he gets plastered and starts roaming the streets, and he winds up at a circus tent.
Yeah. And he meets a very lovely young girl while he is stumble drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually discovers that she's quite a talented singer.
Yeah.
And as we have learned by now, he is actually a pianist.
Yeah.
And
you said pianist.
Yep. I was waiting for it. But yeah, he's his band has disbanded, and he's just kind of aimless in his life.
Yeah, that was his thing.
Yeah,
he wanted to. He really thought they were going to be like the best orchestra in K-City or wherever they're from. I forget.
I have no idea. Some Japanese place.
Yeah, Detroit.
That's right. Some Japanese place. So he discovers this girl and her talent, and he decides that like he can really shape her into being like a superstar, and so he helps her out and like tries to mine her talent, and I'm sure some of it is selfish on his part as well.
Sure, yeah, because he wants to, like, this is what he wants to do with his life.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, it was weird because when you first saw him, like, you know, hear her voice, and I was like, oh, this guy's going to fall in love with her, and that's what it's all going to be about. But it doesn't really go down that road, which is kind of interesting.
Not, yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, it is very, very lightly hinted towards the end, but it's never like explicitly that way, and it's never. There's no romantic overtones to any of it.
Yeah.
It's all like about music and trying to make her be a better musician, and him, you know, struggling to find some sort of place in his life again. Like now that his band has fallen apart.
Yeah, and the lady, I can't remember her name. Psycho. I think. Psycho.
Yeah.
So she's,
and his name is Susumu.
I can't remember. It was like a week ago when I read this.
Right.
But
and they're all hard to pronounce names.
They are. Well, I mean, I'm not used to these names. Yeah.
Right.
We'll call him Mike.
Okay.
So anyway, Mike. No.
Mike and Susie.
Mike and Susie. So she's like, she seems sort of, like she loves to sing, obviously, but she kind of does it in her downtime at the circus.
Right.
And you can tell that she doesn't feel as if she is talented enough to make a career out of it. Like she's like, oh no, it's kind of like my place is here in the circus, doing the circus stuff.
Right. Well, her father is the ringmaster that we know of. And he is seemingly very strict and doesn't want her to. Basically, he's just trying to crush her dreams.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I see his point. Everyone's dream is to be in the circus. Why wouldn't you want to be in the circus?
Yeah.
Mike eventually decides that he's going to ask Seiko to stay in their city because circuses travel.
Yeah. Right.
And eventually the circus is going to leave again, and so he asks her to stay so that he can teach her and train her, and work on music together with her, and he thinks he can get her into a good musical school, and he's offered to pay her tuition.
And she's like so excited. She's like, wow, this is amazing.
But she has to ask her dad for permission first.
Yeah.
And
surprisingly, he says that's fine, and they live happily ever after.
Yep. In the end.
No, that's
it's
not.
weird how they got to this murder angle.
Yeah.
So eventually the father sends a note to Mike, and again, not his name.
Not his name.
Telling him that how dare he propose this idea to his daughter,
right.
And she's leaving with the circus in a day, and that he just needs to go away.
Yeah.
And so he once again turns to the bottle.
Yep, as you do.
Yep. And stumbles on down to the circus to confront the old man, and things go poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. He ends up blacking out, and he wakes up next to the dead body of the ringmaster.
Yep.
With a big knife in his back, and
blood on his hands.
And yeah. It's not a great situation.
No. And he escapes, and somebody sees him waking up, and finds the ringmaster dead, and so screams that ringmaster's been murdered, and the murderer is running away. So he runs back home, and that's basically we circle back around to the beginning.
Yeah.
And so we've learned how he's gotten into this situation. He's telling his story to our
his handcuffed partner.
Yeah, who again very thuggish.
Mm-hmm.
And neither of them really want to be chained together, and the thug continuously suggests that I'll just cut off your hand and we can both go.
Yeah.
But
he's like, I play the piano.
Yeah. It's not a situation anybody really
well,
wants.
Sure, but I mean, at least he's got a good excuse.
Right, yeah, that's true.
I
mean, yeah, what would ours be?
We'd like to draw and masturbate.
Right, yeah.
I mean, respectively, like I draw.
Yeah, I masturbate.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes we do it simultaneously.
Yeah.
Why do we think we do drawing night every week?
Right? You like to call it masturbation night.
Well, sure.
But I
like to clean it up for the audience.
Plus, when I tell my wife I'm coming over to your house, I just say drawing night instead of going into the whole thing.
Sure.
It just keeps it a little less weird.
I mean, it is super weird now that you've been inviting me over to your house on Saturday.
For masturbation. I mean, drawing night shit.
Yeah.
Here I go. We're ruining the...
I mean, luckily, your wife does a lot of stuff around the house, so she's not in the room all the time.
Right, and she falls asleep early.
Yeah, that too, yeah. So some of it gets done.
But yeah, that's not a situation I would ever want to be in, is chained to a guy who's who's constantly saying, "Hey, we should just cut off your hand so we can get out of this mess."
Right?
Like, wait, just slow down, buddy. Can't we find a way to cut this chain?
Right. Well, eventually they do sort of come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And, I know that this is a 52-year-old comic.
I think we're fine to spoil this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it turns out that our thuggy friend may have a little bit of a heart of gold after all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he proposes sort of a not a dare, but
like a gamble.
Yeah, a gamble. That's it.
That's what he calls it.
Where they've wound up, they're hiding in like some sort of clinic or something like that after being chased by the cops, and there's medication around, so he decides that they're gonna have 2 glasses of water, and one of them is gonna be drugged, and but he's gonna pour the drugs into one of the glasses, and then Mike is gonna switch the glasses, so neither of them will know
like who's drinking the poison,
who's drinking the drugged water, and whoever passes out it gets their hand cut off.
They're gonna wake up with one less hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a great situation.
No.
But he's insistent on it.
Yep. And poor Mike. Poor Mike begins to pass out.
Yeah, because they both drink the water.
Yep.
And Mike is like things are starting to get blurry for him.
Yep.
And you're like, oh no. But here's what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be that. Oh. Or it kind of was that though. So. I forget exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I thought it was going to be a slightly different scenario where the criminal. I thought he was just not going to drink any of it. That's what I thought he was. I thought he was going to like pretend like he was sipping on it.
Right.
But he actually does like put the water in his mouth, but then he like kind of spits it out.
Yeah, he holds it in his mouth.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually drink it.
Right.
Yeah. Of course, you gotta. I don't know. Like, I don't know science, so wouldn't you assume though that some of the drug would
Well, he was a big dude.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
He's like it probably.
Like absorbing the cheeks.
He probably He probably felt a little woozy.
Yeah, I guess.
But like the other guy started passing out.
But yeah, he drugs both of the drinks, and so
he knew that the Mike was going to pass out.
Yes, yeah, and so the last we see is him dragging Mike to a bed, and the end,
right? And he opens up this little case of sharp objects, tools.
Yep.
And you're like, oh fuck.
Yep. So.
Oh, and Mike has this incredible, like one of my favorite scenes in the book actually is right after that is like a couple pages scene of Mike's dream about playing the piano, and he goes to like play the other side, and he's got like this hook hand, and he like freaks out. Like, that was a great scene. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of tension throughout this book.
Yeah.
It's really well paced. And despite the fact that it is a very familiar trope and definitely plays a lot of the things that we've seen in other movies, and comics and whatever, it still manages to play out some surprises.
Yeah.
Even though, I think at least I did, sort of figured out that Mike was probably going to come out through the end okay.
Yeah, I assumed,
Right. But,
I didn't know, though, because I've read a couple other books by Tatsumi.
Okay.
And they're pretty dark. They don't always end well for the main character.
Okay.
So I wasn't positive, but this is the oldest thing I've read by him, so apparently he wasn't as
as cynical?
Yeah.
What was he, 21?
Yeah. Early 20s, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just fucking spoil it.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah.
So Mike wakes up, and there's the cop that arrested him originally is there, and Mike looks down and is surprised that he has both of his hands.
Yeah, right. And he's like, what? Huh? What?
Yep. And then from there, for me anyway, the book takes a real sharp downward turn.
Yep. I honestly think if the last 6 pages were just left out of this book, it would be much better.
Yeah. So there's just everything wraps up so neat and tidy and conveniently.
Yeah.
That it just
so conveniently. It's like a Sidney Sheldon book.
Right. It was so disappointing at the end.
Yeah.
And up until then, like, I was super into this book.
Yeah. I would agree.
It's a quick read, but like, it is very intense at times, and I was interested in the characters. And part of it might be, we should probably mention that this book's translated by Adrian Tomine.
Yeah.
Of Optic Nerve, I believe.
Yeah.
So some of the dialogue probably reads fresher than maybe if it had been a straight translation.
Sure.
Which I think helps. Because, I mean, there's...
That's true.
Old comics kind of...
clunky dialogue.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, a translation on top of it,
sometimes makes it worse.
Yeah. So I think Tomine definitely deserves, some acknowledgement as to, at least for my enjoyment.
His hand in, yeah.
But there's nothing Tomine could have rewritten those word balloons to keep the story the way it is and not be a disappointment.
Yeah. I mean, should we say, like, what all happened?
Yeah, might as well.
So the cop tells Mike, he's like, turns out your buddy cut his own hand off because he was like a nice guy after all, and he was actually the dad of the girl you fell in love with, and the ringmaster was a really horrible man, and the other guy that worked at the circus that didn't like the ringmaster killed the ringmaster, and then your buddy that was chained to you went over and scared that guy into confessing, and then, like, hey, the circus is coming back in town, by the way. And the girl that you wrote all the music for is coming back, and here she is.
Yep. It's like a comedy.
It is.
So,
yeah.
Like an end of a Three's Company that just wraps everything up in a nice little bow.
In 1 minute, yeah. Yeah, because, so I wonder, too, if maybe, like, Tatsumi was like, I'm gonna write this, graphic narrative or whatever, and he's like, this fucking thing's dark, and and then, like, he's working on it, and towards the end, like, maybe his editor or something's like, hey, man, you really gotta, like, put, like, a happy spin on this at the end, you gotta make things come together.
I mean...
Because it just seems so out of character, especially, like I said, I've read The Pushman and other stories, and something about the Abandon All Hope in Old Tokyo or whatever. Like, he's got these 2 books that I've read that are so fucking dark all the way through. Mm-hmm. And this just seems so different.
Right.
Like at least the end of it. I mean,
it's abrupt.
Yeah.
Like
it just seems like something was tacked on.
Right. I mean, it could be that. I did read there's an interview with him at the end that Adrian Tomine conducts with him.
Yeah, that blew my mind too.
Yeah. And what he said, he did this entire book in like 21 days.
Yeah, 127 pages. He wrote, drew, and lettered it in 20-something days.
So maybe he just got bored at the end and was just like, I gotta wrap this up. I'm done.
Right.
Which, I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to me. I mean, that's like how many? So what is that? 100. That's like 4 pages a day. That's like twice Jack Kirby's speed.
Yeah. I mean,
or more than that. That's more than 4 pages a day. Like 4.5 pages a day. That's weird.
And I mean, there's
There's some sloppy elements. Like there was one panel where I saw it looked like he drew his chin wrong and just said fuck it and left it that way. There's like an extra chin line that goes nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it does look very quick, and it is, definitely reminiscent of like old like Astro Boy, like the art style.
Yeah,
like super crude and very very cartoony and loose.
Yeah, really loose for sure.
And like the panels, like there's an average I would say of like 4 to 5 panels per page, but then quite a few splashes as well.
Right.
But I mean,
but there's tones to it.
There's cross hatching and hatching, and like backgrounds are pretty minimal, but
they're enough to serve it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like a current Neil Adams book or anything.
Right. I mean, it's definitely something that in spots you can tell a rush, but for the most part, like thinking about how quickly he did this is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. Especially since it stays consistent. Like, it doesn't look it's not like the first half is really nice. And like, I've seen some 24-hour comics where you're like, wow, this looks good. And then, like, 8 pages in, it's like, whoa, they realized,
hit a wall.
They said 8 hours on the first page.
Right. I mean, maybe it has something to do with the fact that, like, the first 20 pages are in color.
Yeah, that is really weird. Like, he mentioned something about it at the end, and like, in that interview, Adrian Tomine asks him about that, and he doesn't really answer, because he says, where is it at? Adrian Tomine says, why are some of the Black Blizzard pages in color and some in black and white? And Tatsumi says, this is a vestige of the fact that rental book manga, which is how he worked at that time, it was basically like Blockbuster Video for manga. But he's
such a weird idea.
I would love that. But he says rental book manga were aimed at children. Later, as readership widened to include adults, color pages gradually were phased out. But that doesn't really answer the question that why this one has some of both. Because it's not like...
Well, maybe he started it and then...
And 20 days later that adults were into comics.
Sure. I don't know.
But the one thing that is interesting about that is on page 16, that's the last color page, and it's as the criminals are escaping from the train wreck.
Right.
And on the very next page, where it turns black and white, in the second panel, Mike says, "Oh, my coat's caught on something." He's like, and the other guy's, "Well, just take it off." And so
you're saying the coat represents color in his life?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying that it looks like in the first 16 pages, they're both they both are wearing coats that are very kind of similar looking. Like the Thugs has some like dots on it,
right?
But they're both like medium darkness. And I think once it became black and white, he was like, "Oh fuck, they're gonna look exactly the same."
Right.
So he has Mike take his coat off, and he's wearing like a black sweater under it for the rest of the book. So I think that's why this whole exchange happens, is because it doesn't come into play at all. It's not like he's like, "Oh, my picture of my girlfriend's in my coat." Oh, nothing like that happens. It's just he no longer has a coat, and that's like there's no point to this other than I think that's why he did it.
I mean, that's pretty clever, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
because it happens so quick that you don't really think about it. But I just kept thinking, like, why is this happening? Like
it honestly never even occurred to me that it would, like, to me it just seems like it's one of those things. Oh, like escape and his coat.
Right.
Take off the coat.
But it seems like it's such a short, fast-paced story that it seemed like that would be something that he wouldn't even include unless it meant something to the story. Like if something was lost in the code or it had like some evidence or whatever. But so I went back to looked at it. I was like, oh, it's when it went black and white. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting.
That is pretty interesting, and like I said, it's pretty clever. It also, makes it a little more dramatic. It means he's got less protection from the cold.
That's true. Yeah.
Makes the urgency of their situation a little more, heightened.
Right.
Until we get to the really shitty end.
Yeah, that's a terrible ending.
It is. It really is.
But I mean, he was in his 20s. I mean, think about what we did in our 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do they have bad endings, but they have bad beginnings and middles.
Sure. I wouldn't say, but it kind of does. I was going to say I wouldn't say that it detracts from my overall enjoyment of the story, but it kind of does.
It was disappointing, yeah. Because I mean, like, for literally like 9/10 of the book, you're like, this is pretty good,
right?
And then it just kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
And I did read the whole thing like just in one sitting, one night. So it was like this, you know, you're a page turner,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So I was into it, but I think it really is more about who he was as a storyteller and who he became, because if you haven't read that, like, seriously, The Pushman and other stories, it's like maybe a dozen stories in a, you know, like a 300-page collection. They're really good and they're really dark, like not just like creepy dark, some of them are, but they're more just like, man, that's fucked up, that's just the way it is, you know. And they're just really great character pieces, and a lot of the main characters, which this is strange because it's not the way at all in Black Blizzard, but the way he tells the stories in the other books that I've read, usually the main character never talks, and it's not like, you know, it's not like Henry from the comic strip. It's not like one guy.
Right.
It's like different characters in each story, but very rarely does he ever have the main character talk. But he has other people talk in the book. Like
That's weird.
Other people talk to him or something, but it's like this kind of element that runs through a lot of his stories where, like, the main character says nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, how does his art evolve?
It looks pretty much the same. I mean, like you mentioned before, how this is kind of Astro Boyish. Like, maybe some of the lines are less curvy, cartoony, and they're a little more like, you know, they remind me more of like Canadian and American small press books from like the 80s and 90s. Like, they kind of, I mean, you can tell it's like it's got a Japanese artist because it has that influence, but it's less so than this. Like, it's less traditional manga looking than this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would definitely be interested in reading, you know, something else by him for sure. Especially if, you know, they stick the landing a little bit better than this one does.
Yeah, they usually do. I've never. This is the longest story I've ever read by him. Although he has one graphic novel that's like 700 pages or something ridiculous, and it's his life story. It's his autobiography.
Oh.
I'd love to read it sometime. I've been wanting to. It's called A Drifting Life, but it's kind of intimidating.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's worth the read.
Yeah.
You know, just to see, you know, this sort of, you know, touchstone from 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, Japanese comics. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely not a genre or format that I'm familiar with. You know.
Right. Yeah. I don't read a lot of Japanese comics, but
I mean, especially like when you traditionally think of manga, you know, it's usually, you know, big-eyed, big-boob girls, you know,
robots,
and, you know, weird animal sex,
right.
and
this is just dudes and crimes,
right? Yeah, which is totally up my alley.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
I mean, like literally up until like the last 5 pages, this story is great.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly think, like you could just kind of make up your own ending and like skip,
right?
Like stop at page 122 or whatever.
Yeah, Black Blizzard.
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
It was cool.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say not his best work. So, like, if you're like, oh, that guy sounds interesting, I've never read anything by him, I wouldn't start here.
Yeah.
Like, unless you just kind of want to do it chronologically, I would definitely look for Pushman. It's a great collection.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I appreciated reading this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't think of. I don't think we've read anything as old as that.
I don't think we've even read anything from the 60s, have we? I think 70s is the oldest thing we've read.
I think so. That may have been relatively recently.
Yeah.
With the Eternals.
Yeah. We'll have to read like a collection of like Little Nemo or something.
Hey, I'd be up. Alright, want to take a break?
Sure, let's break. Welcome back to Gutter Trash.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Feeling good?
Who, me or you?
I don't know.
Was that a question or a statement?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It could have been either. It could have been neither.
Well,
It's a t-shirt idea.
Sure.
Feeling good?
It's kind of hard to get across intonation on a t-shirt.
Well, right. Well, that's why you can't tell if it's a question or not.
Yeah.
It'd be like the cover of the original Killing Joke, where the Joker says smile,
Right.
but there's no punctuation.
Sure.
Which is much preferable, I believe, to the one where it has an exclamation mark.
Sure. I agree with that. Which one has the exclamation mark?
The newer ones do.
The newer ones?
Yeah. Which is weird, actually. In the new previews, the January one at least, I was looking through it today, ordering the DC stuff, and there's a hardcover deluxe version of The Killing Joke. Another one, a new one.
Yeah.
And
is this the black and white one?
This is the one that has black and white stuff. It has the original Killing Joke, and it has Boland's recoloring of it.
So 3 versions of the same book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like 150 pages for like $50.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Like I own the recolored one.
Yeah, which I think looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, nothing against John Higgins. I think that's the guy who colored the original one. But yeah,
it looks fine.
Yeah.
I actually prefer the newer color one though.
I do as well. Yeah.
But I think it's really weird that, like, why
money?
Yeah, that's right.
Because people will buy it.
That's true.
Yeah.
We didn't order one because we already have like 2 different versions of the Killing Joke.
Right.
And I mean, we sell them, but they're like $15 instead of $50.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm sure somebody will probably come in and ask for it at some point. Anyway,
it is Batman.
Yeah, and whatever. It's the Killing Joke.
Yeah,
it's a fine story.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I've read better and I've read worse Batman stories.
Exactly. Maybe not prettier, but
maybe not.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some, but
there's some great.
It's definitely, I'd say, top 5 best drawn Batman comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't really argue with that because Liefeld only drew Batman in an issue of Hawk and Dove,
right?
So never drew an actual, right? Yeah. And it's great. It's so good. Oh, man. I honestly really wish Liefeld would have drawn a Batman story, even if it wasn't a Batman comic, in the heyday, because the Hawk and Dove thing he drew was in, the New 52 in, 2011 or 12. Yeah. Where he's, his style's changed over the years, and it's not as, fun. It's still, just as bad, but it's not as fun. And this comes from someone who really appreciates his work. But, right. I mean, obviously, I'm not an idiot, so I can tell it's bad.
Right.
But
again, that might be debatable.
If I'm an idiot or not. But no, I really wish he would have drawn just a Batman 3-page story or whatever in the early 90s. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Mid 90s, whatever.
I mean, I'm not a fan. Even though, I have defended him on an occasion, but I think after our last time where you forced me to read a Liefeld book, it was
The Infinite.
Yeah, it pushed me over the edge of where I'm not going to defend him anymore. But his work has noticeably gotten worse.
Yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
Well, it just seems like he's you can tell in the early 90s. I mean, there's zero. I don't think anyone could even effectively argue that he didn't have the most enthusiasm of any comic artist on the planet in the early 90s.
Sure.
He surely did.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not that enthusiastic anymore.
And it's one of those things where back then also, you could tell that he has raw talent.
Yeah.
There is a nugget of something inside him that, given proper training and conditioning, he would have been, well, I mean, he was a megastar, but, he would have been a good megastar.
Right. He would have been his career would have had a consistent longevity.
Yes. Yeah. But I definitely feel I feel like it's one of those things where he became popular so early in his career that he was just well, why do I need to get better?
Yeah. I'm already obviously the shit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like he hasn't really tried in a decade.
Yeah.
But he's still doing it, which is weird to me because I feel like he's financially well off enough that if he doesn't really want to do it, he doesn't need to.
Right.
But I mean, he still does some covers, and occasionally he'll start something that he doesn't finish.
Sure. But he did that Deadpool graphic novel for some reason.
That's true.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure they paid him well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just that part of it always kind of gets me. If I had the proper mentality to become a success at comics like he had, where it got to the point where you could write your own ticket and do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Right.
And squander it. Because, I mean, he squandered it. All the goodwill that he had built up, he just stopped producing work.
Yeah.
He came up with like a million ideas and let other people do them,
Yeah.
but like he wasn't barely involved,
Right.
and it just all imploded eventually, and then he just kind of just stopped doing the work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And but then, like, when you look at his recent career, the only things that he's consistently done are Marvel and DC books.
Right.
Which, like, if you had the clout and the level of stardom that he did, why wouldn't you do your own thing?
Yeah. Right.
Like that gets me.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Especially since he has all these characters. It's not like, he's got nothing.
Right.
And he has ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really weird.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to see him just do something just fucking batshit crazy.
Sure.
Like full of weird violence and crazy robotic characters, and
right.
just do whatever the hell he wants to do, and draw it really well. Like, I think he could if he
I'm sure.
put some time and energy into it.
But yeah, it's just like, why? I mean, other than the fact that the character is hugely popular and Marvel probably paid him a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Why do a Deadpool graphic novel when he could have spent that time and energy to make, the Bloodstrike comic that he never finished?
Or Doom's 4, was that him?
That was also him, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm more excited about is it Michelle or Michael Fife doing Bloodstrike?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That'll be cool.
I'm very excited about that, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Liefeld, I don't know, I actually legitimately love looking at his art, especially his 90s art.
Right.
Like, it seriously fills me with a joy that most things don't,
Right.
And
have you told your wife this?
oh, she sees it every day on the light switch that goes into our laundry room. I have a young blood light switch cover, but yeah, but like, there's just, it's missing from the stuff that I've seen from him in the last 10 years. Like, it just seems like someone who's, I don't know, like sketching artwork kind of based on Liefeld's art, but they're not as good as Liefeld.
Right. And also, I mean, I don't pay that much attention, but a lot of it seems like, he's playing off sort of the idea of what Rob Liefeld is.
Yeah.
And a lot of it seems sort of like a greatest hits package version of Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
But by a subpar cover band.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, yeah, it's, and it kind of reminds me too of maybe like I got the same kind of feeling when Tommy Wiseau was like, oh yeah, it's funny. Yeah, the room's funny. Yeah, that's right. So it's like, you do this thing and it's received in a way that maybe you didn't intend.
Right.
And then you kind of like
play into it.
Yeah, what people have, their perspective instead of your perspective. And,
right.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think his books are nearly as fun as they used to be.
Yeah. What little there are that exist.
I did think the Deathstroke stuff he did for New 52 Deathstroke was kind of up there.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was a lot more fun, and I enjoyed it because it was just weird and dumb and crazy. It was like kids playing with toys.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the story was. But I enjoyed that more than anything I think he's done in the last 10 or 15 years.
Did you ever read that Deadpool graphic novel?
I have not. I thought about just giving it back to the store, but it came shrink wrapped, and like, I opened the shrink wrap, and so technically it's used, so I'd get like $1 or $2 for it. So I'm like, I don't know, I'll just read it eventually.
Right.
But yeah,
No. How did we get started on this?
I don't know. Every 10 minutes I say the word Liefeld. Sometimes we roll with it. I think that's how it happened. We were talking about Killing Joke.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's so many Batman books in the new previews, like reprints of stuff like all the Brian Vaughan Batmans are in there, and then there's like all the Mike Barr, Neary ones are collected, and
Ed Brubaker.
Yeah, there's like a ton of that stuff. It's weird. Batman's a really good seller for us at the store, but even and Batman's my favorite comic character ever.
Yeah.
And even I didn't order all of those books. I was like, that's just too many Batman books to come out in 1 month. Like no one's like, we're not going to sell all those.
Yeah. I mean, I get he's a popular character and people love him, but
yeah, and it's not like it's like even a meager month, because also the Dark Knight's Metal, all three of those collections come out, and a new trade of Rebirth, Detective and Batman both come out that month. So it's not like they were like, oh, we got to have some Batman stuff out.
Right.
There's like 20 Batman graphic novels coming out in March,
in addition to the regular series.
Yeah. And the Signal, and there's another Batman miniseries. Forget what it is. And he's going to be in the Brave and the Bold series with Wonder Woman. I mean, it's like, it's crazy the amount of Batman books there are.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I love Batman too. And, I mean,
do you prefer it when he wears his underwear on the inside or outside?
Well, outside.
Yeah, me too.
But I could maybe do with a Batman break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is weird, me saying this, because I'm actually thinking of doing an all Batman theme month for Sketch A Day.
I remember you saying that. Yeah. That would be exciting.
And mostly because I don't want to think anymore when I'm drawing. And like, if I knew that like I just had to draw 28 or 30 pictures of Batman, like, I could crank those out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or even his villains.
Right.
Like you've drawn.
No, just Batman.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, just Batman.
Well, I know you've drawn plenty of his villains too.
I have. Yeah.
I was trying to find something. I can't remember.
Was it about Batman?
It was about Batman.
Was it about his trunks?
No.
Okay. Because the other big hero, he has trunk news.
It's true.
It was just announced today that Superman's getting his red underwear back.
I know.
And honestly, pretty excited.
Everyone's excited.
It's the stupidest thing in the world to be excited about, but it's good to know that DC is learning things.
Well, do you want to know something else stupid to be excited about?
Yes.
Because I've been looking at this for a while now. Considering buying one, but they're $300.
Holy shit.
And they measure 5 by 7.
5 feet?
Nope. 5 inches by 7 inches.
Oh.
So.
What?
So probably my favorite living cartoonist is a man named Chester Brown.
Sure. So
he has been redrawing a story. So what he's done, and he's selling them for $300 a panel for these original panels.
Wow.
They are made for his Patreon subscribers, because he has a Patreon account, and some people have sold them since they've got them.
Okay.
But basically, he took a script from a Carl Barks Donald Duck story from 1949, and he's been redrawing it with the characters replacing Batman replacing Donald, Robin replacing the 3 nephews. It's like one person is Robin, and Batgirl replaces Daisy. And he's been doing this for a while now. And some of them are so weird. Like, here's one of just Batman throwing pills down his mouth. I don't know why. What he's doing. Yeah, here, check
is
out
he
that.
telling it in or? That's great. Oh wow, I love that.
They're so good. Yeah, I think he's doing it panel by panel, and it's great because whenever there's a scene with Robin in it, you know that, like, all 3 of the Huey, Dewey, and Louie were there. Or anytime you see Daisy, or Batgirl, it's really Daisy, and anytime you see Batman, it's really Donald. It's so weird.
Oh, wow. That's bizarre.
It's strange, yeah.
But awesome, I guess.
I've seen a couple of them in person when we were at CXC, when me and you were there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were, but the Beguiling had a table, and they had a portfolio that had some of his stuff in it, and there were some of these Batman drawings, and I was like, where are these from? Is this like some fan commission or something? And so after we went home, I looked it up, and that's what it is. He's just doing this Karl Barks Donald Duck story.
That's crazy. Oh, I kind of love it.
Yeah.
Kind of love it.
What a neat dude.
That's definitely one word you could call him.
Yep, a dude.
So, what's new?
Nothing really. Just drawing and working, and pretty much it. I read a book.
Yeah.
An actual book this week.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. Like, I swear I'm not an idiot, but I feel like sometimes a year goes by and I don't read any books, and then I do feel like an idiot.
I haven't read a book in probably 6 or 7 years.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true. I've seen you reading. Like, you had a short story book of something. I don't know what it was. I remember seeing the book in there.
I mean, I have books.
Oh, okay. Well, sure.
I just haven't read them.
So I have this rule. I have very few self-imposed rules in this world because there's enough rules to follow anyway.
Sure.
But one of my rules I've made for myself is that anytime I check out a piece of digital media from the library, I have to also check out a book.
Okay.
Like, I won't let myself leave the library with just a DVD or a CD or whatever. I have to take a printed matter with me as well.
Okay.
I don't always read them. I don't always even open the cover, but it's a rule that I'm going home with something.
All right.
So last week I was at the library and I was looking for Super 8 on DVD.
Okay.
And
I own a copy. You could have just asked for it.
Oh shoot. Well, they did not have it.
Okay.
And so while I was there, I was like, well, I'll just look at the CDs. I ended up picking up a couple CDs. I've been wanting to hear the new Beck album, even though that Like Wow song is terrible. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, maybe the rest of it's good. And spoiler, it's not. So I went home with the new Beck CD, and I was like, well, I got to grab something else. And I just they were actually doing renovation on the library, so like half of it was like closed and like had like that like clear construction death paper up,
sure.
Like the Dexter wrap.
Yeah.
And so like I couldn't really look at much of the sections anyway, and I went by the new biography section. I was like, I'll just grab a biography, and they had one on J.D. Salinger, and I was like, well, I've never even read anything by J.D. Salinger. Like, I know who he is,
right?
And, the Catcher in the Rye dude, and supposedly he's a recluse, and he's dead. His
kid played Captain America.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And which Captain America?
The
70s. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So he was alive to see that then, because he died in 2010.
Yeah. I bet they were at the premiere of the never released Captain America movie together.
That's awesome to think.
Rubber ears and all.
So I picked up this book on J.D. Salinger, and I was like, I probably won't even open this because I've never read any J.D. Salinger, so my interest level's not as high as it probably would be if.
Right.
But I took it home, and one night I was like, I'll just read a few pages of this before bed, and like I read the entire book in a week, which for me is pretty fast because I'm a dumb guy and I'm used to reading comics.
Sure.
But it was so good. It's called J.D. Salinger Escape Artist, and I forget the guy's name who wrote it. I think his last name is Bello. No. But it was very, very good. It was, I mean, like, not only was it interesting subject matter, but it was written really well. Like, it was, like, not too, like, literary-y, where it had, like, a million words I didn't know. But it wasn't just, like, tabloid-style dumbness either. It was, like, this happy medium. And like, I'm really interested in reading some of his stuff now that I've read this book about him.
What'd you learn about him? What's the most interesting thing about J.D. Salinger other than he's a recluse and his kid played Captain America?
His name's Jerome.
Jerome.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And there's more, like, what
does the D stand for?
Daredevil.
Okay.
Oh, I don't remember. It probably says, but I don't remember. But no, it like talked about like how he got into writing and like how it like freaked him out when, popularity started happening and how he dialed back from all that. And he just was a really interesting dude. And basically he didn't publish anything the last 45 years of his life. He lived in this like house that was fenced in with this giant black dog for 45 years, and he was writing all the time, and he just never published anything.
Wow.
And he died in his like 90s. He was like 91, I think. But,
maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Is there another famous recluse author?
Dave Barry?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
of. He's the only one I can think of. Like that, whenever I hear people make jokes about someone being a recluse, they call him J.D. Salinger.
Right, yeah, okay. I don't know.
But he.
No, I know who I'm thinking of now. Never mind. I was thinking of
Pink Floyd. That guy is a recluse.
Yeah, no. No, I was thinking of Thomas Pynchon.
Okay, I don't know who that
also,
is.
wrote 2 books and became hugely famous and then just
disappeared.
Yeah. Except for he played himself on an episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just like Alan Moore.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
A recluse that plays himself on The Simpsons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Never mind. All right. J.D. Salinger.
Yeah, but it was really interesting. And he, he, like, I think one of the things that perhaps did send him into, like, reclusivity, if that's a word, his job was like, I think they called it counterintelligence something or other. It had this big long name, but he was in the army in the 40s, like right after World War II, and his job was to go around and find people who were Nazis, like hiding as, civilians. And it's like, that was like a pretty shitty job apparently. And he also was there when they like freed some of the camps from France and things, and saw some pretty horrible things. And when he got back to America, I guess he was just kind of like, he was off put by his own surroundings, because he wasn't like, it's like I guess a form of PTSD where you like, you're no longer comfortable in your situation because like you're just like, life is steps away from being this atrocity.
Right. And
he was just kind of like freaked out about everything after that. So
sounds like a pussy to me. Because you know what? Ian Fleming and Roald Dahl also both were counterintelligence for the British military.
Oh, yeah.
And, just lived life like ballers.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I think was bad is he was really in love with this girl, and she moved out to Hollywood when he was enrolled in the army, and she was going to try to become an actress. And he was like, I just hope that she doesn't end up leaving me for someone famous. And like, every time I see that famous person, I'm going to think of her. Turns out she did, for a guy named Charlie Chaplin.
Heard of him.
Which I think there was a constant reminder of that throughout their lives. So like, I think he was just kind of going mad.
Well, sure.
Honestly. Yeah.
Again, Ian Fleming, man. Just took it and rolled with it and bought an island in the Bahamas.
Well, not everyone can be Ian Fleming.
That's true.
But I'm totally gonna like check out some of it. To me it's weird that I've never checked out anything by him, because I'm interested in that like kind of style of writing, like like George Orwell and like all that stuff. It's like Clockwork Orange, like teen angst,
right.
Literary kind of stuff, and I never ever have like read any of it or been asked to read it in school or anything. So
yeah, same. I mean, like, I'll be 1,000% honest. I have zero interest in ever reading Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah,
zero.
Yeah,
and it's probably one of those things where it's like,
it's like the Beatles of novels.
Sort of.
It's like, yeah, it's good. It's really good, but,
right, yeah.
but not as good as you said it was.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just maybe even like, like how, like the band Tool, some people like are really not into Tool just totally based on the people who like Tool.
Sure.
Yeah. It was like...
Which I get.
Sure, I totally get that too, yeah. So it might be like one of those things where like, well, like the people who really love and talk about this book, like, they're just not people that I'm super into. Like, you know, the guy that killed John Lennon.
Right. Yeah, a lot of serial killers read that book.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, it's one of those things where like I love Tool and Pink Floyd and, you know, all these bands that there are people that bestow upon them this sort of religious, you know, like that they've made this plateau, like they're no longer a band, they're fucking gods and they've changed my life. And it's like, you know, yeah, they're good. They're no Melvins, but they're good. So I think it's probably the same way with Catcher in the Rye. I'm sure when I read it, I'm like, yeah, it was good, but you know, he's no George Orwell. You know, he's no Kurt Vonnegut. I mean, that's what I anticipated. Like I said, only thing I've ever read by him are like very brief snippets in this book about him because...
Oh, he wrote the book Sniglets?
Sniglets? So this is really weird. So this is interesting. I think this is at Princeton. They have all these files of letters that J.D. Salinger wrote, and they have these weird rules where you're allowed to go in, but all you can have with you you can have a laptop with you, but they'll bring out from this these you know, their archives, these files full of the letters that he wrote and people wrote to him, but they set them at a different table than the one that you're sitting at with your laptop. Mm-hmm. And you can go over to the other table and look at them without your laptop. And then you can go back to your table, which is one table away. It's like 6 feet away. You can go back to your table and type down what you saw. Mm-hmm. And the guy that's writing the book, he said the first time that he went there, you know, he was like, you know, they told him like, so you're not allowed to bring any sort of writing utensils. And, if you want paper, you know, we'll give you paper, but the only paper you're allowed to leave with is this stationery of ours, because we had people steal papers before. And so he's like, okay. And so he has his laptop, and he said that at first he like walked over to the other table and he tried to do it like nonchalantly, like, I'm going to go over here and look at this and then go back to my table and type down what I saw. And he like kind of nonchalantly tries to do that so they don't notice him. Mm-hmm. But he said it's obvious they did notice that he did it and they didn't say anything. So he said like, as time goes on, he said he like makes more and faster and more frequent trips from table to table, because that's the rule. You can't have both things at one table.
Right.
And he said like, eventually it was like this cartoonish display where he's like running from one table to the next as if he's like, he said it probably looked like he was like getting water from one table to dump on a fire on the other table back and forth. He said it was like insane, but that's just the rule there.
Right.
So it's just really strange because I guess like it was like in Salinger's, you know, like will or whatever, you know, that I guess they could have all these things, but you know, no one's allowed to like copy them or like, weird. Yeah, it's just so strange. Huh. But yeah, just Odd Dude, basically. The book should have just been called Odd Dude. It saved us all some time, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So that's all I've really done this week is read that and work.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do anything nearly as smart.
Well, thanks for keeping it real.
Yeah, no problem.
I was the one that was being a phony. It's a Salinger joke, people. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just watched TV and read comic books. That's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do the next week.
Right.
That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think since the last time we did a show, I both watched and read The End of the Fucking World.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did two things with that too. I watched it and I made a lot of money off the comics.
Yeah, it's a comic by Charles Forsman.
Yeah, also known as Chuck Forsman.
Sure. He little mini comics that came out like 5-6 years ago, and,
Yeah.
and it's now an 8-episode Netflix series, and I watched the show and really loved it, and I was like, I knew it was based on a comic I had never read, and I was telling you about it, and fucking course you own every individual issue of it.
Sure. Well, I did on every.
Well, sure. Yeah. And so I asked to borrow them and read them, and was very shocked how closely they both lined up.
Right.
Like it is a very faithful adaptation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some differences, but
there's like mostly tone differences of things. Like it seems a little bleaker in the comics and a little more fun in the show.
A little bit. But there's also just details, like like characters that didn't exist in the.
Yeah. Like one character becomes two.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like in Chester Brown's Donald Duck Batman story.
Right. Yeah. But still, like for the most part, the plot and even dialogue and scenes are all the same. It was very surprising.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed reading it and would highly recommend either to people.
Yeah.
And then I gave you your comics back, and then you immediately sold them on eBay.
And when you say immediately,
I mean fucking immediately.
in the most unexaggerated use of that term.
Yep.
So you gave them back to me, and you were like, by the way, I think these are going for a lot of money online. So I picked up my phone, I looked them up on eBay. 5 minutes later, I listed them on eBay for $80, and 5 minutes after that, I sold them on eBay.
Yep. Literally like that.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes after you told me they were worth money, I had sold them for $80.
Yep.
And like $80 doesn't sound like an amazing amount of money, but these are like the smaller than your hand,
like
mini comics,
half size of like what you normally think of as mini comics.
Yeah,
and they're only like 4-6 pages long.
Yeah, I think 8. Yeah, I'm counting the covers, but yeah, they're like, yeah, you can read the entire series in like half an hour at the most.
Yeah,
at the most.
Yeah.
And that's if you're like, sort of like lovingly looking at the artwork.
Right.
And I honestly like, I enjoyed it when I read it, but it was from a company called Oily Comics, and it was like Charles Forsman and a couple other people's imprint or whatever. I think mostly Charles. But it was like not one of my favorite things they did. Like there was like at least 3 other books I liked a lot more. Mm-hmm. So when I found out it was worth money, I was like, oh shit, yes, I'll sell these. And I honestly think I liked that. I watched all the show too. I liked the show better. Yeah. I just like the changes in tone that I noticed. But yeah, and it was great. I sold them on eBay for $80 for these tiny. I mean, it was probably like $10 or $15 worth of cover price, right, plus whatever postage I spent on it. So it's one of the few times I've ever made money on a comic book. But not that it's about the money. It's just like it would have sat there in my shelf forever. I don't know that I ever would have reread them. So right, I was happy to trade that for some gas in my car and some kitty litter and whatever.
And usually, like you've had, the occasional example where like, a comic suddenly becomes a hot property.
Oh yes.
And
I miss out
on capitalizing on it. Yeah.
Like I should have sold these when they were worth like 50 cents an issue.
Right.
That's like my usual mode of operation.
Yeah, you should have sold these about 5 months earlier.
Yeah.
When the show was only being shown on the BBC.
Yeah.
And no one gave a damn.
Right.
And I sold it for like, $5 for all 16 of them.
That would have been something I usually do.
Right, yeah. But you actually managed to make a couple bucks on it.
Yeah. And like, I mean, who knows, it might end up being worth twice as much down the road, but I'm pretty darn happy with my $80.
It's a fine deal.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good show. If you haven't seen it yet, you can watch it. Like the entire series equals about an hour and a half worth of watching.
Yeah.
It's pretty short.
Yep. Yeah, I think like one episode is only like 10 minutes long.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. The End of the Fucking World, if you didn't catch it.
And then the only other real thing I've been doing is so I bought that Jack Kirby's Fourth World Omnibus back in December. And So the other day, I was, after I finished reading The End of the Fucking World, I said, what should I follow this up with? And I grabbed my Mr. Miracle trade, and started reading that, and then I said, well, wait, I've got that giant-ass omnibus that has all these issues, and it has all of Kirby's issues of Jimmy Olsen, The Forever People, and The New Gods, in addition to Mr. Miracle. I should just read that instead. And so I decided that I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to read the entire 53-issue Fourth World omnibus. And so I'm doing it in small doses, though. I'm doing at least one
a week,
one chapter a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you can do that. I mean,
I can do that.
If someone out there read on a weekly basis DC's 52 or countdown,
yeah,
then you can read this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm 5 days into it at this point. 4 days. So there's been 3 issues of Jimmy Olsen, 1 issue of Forever People, and 1 issue of New Gods that I've read at this point.
Nice.
And every day on my social media, I've been posting one panel of, like, you know, just like something that grabs me, like my favorite panel, or just something ridiculous,
Like an insane panel.
right? Yeah, or just something just amazingly awesome. And so it's been kind of fun, and I'm enjoying it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's Kirby writing, so
Right.
so if you know that going in, you know.
Yeah, there's you know, speaking of earlier, you know, clunky dialogue.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of that.
Yeah, he was an amazing idea man, amazing artist, but you know, hit and miss as a writer.
Yeah. I will say so far, my least favorite issue that I've read so far is Forever People #1.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 3 Jimmy Olsens leading up to that, like, just sort of started laying the foundation for, like, you know, what would become the Fourth World stuff. But mostly it was just, like, weird Jimmy Olsen stories with, like, wacky sidekicks, and then Superman being, you know, dad, you know. But, like, you know, like, the stuff that we know and love about Kirby, like, was sort of minimized.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there for sure, but not at the forefront. So I get to Forever People, I'm thinking, okay, this is his
Here
thing.
it comes, right.
Here it comes. It's mostly a story about Superman just being a whiny fucking bitch. Like, he's sad that he's Superman. And that is a thing that I hate the most about any Superman story.
Right.
Like, no, he's not sad about being Superman.
Right.
Like it's all about him being lonely, and, like, he discovers, like, the Forever People have, like, come from this other world where there's a place called Supertown. He really wants to go to Supertown so that he can meet other superheroes. He is in the fucking Justice League.
Yeah. Right.
He has met other superheroes.
He is the epitome of first world problem guy, because he's like, oh, I can do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm all powerful.
Yeah, I'm a handsome and successful reporter in my day job.
And nothing can kill me. And,
Yeah.
like, I could change I can change coal into diamonds, or reverse time, or fly around, and it sucks.
Yep. And that is seriously mostly what that issue is, and then, like, some, like, you know, Darkseid shows up in, like, 3 panels.
or Don Rickles.
It hasn't happened yet.
Okay, spoiler. Sorry.
It's coming, though. I know it is. But then I read New Gods #1, and that was just pure balls to the wall Kirby madness.
That's awesome.
And I loved it.
I haven't read all of those. I've read parts of all those series, like Mr. Miracle and everything, but I need to do that too. Just read them all.
Yeah. So that's my new
Obsession.
not obsession, but I would say, you know, project.
Right.
You know, like, I always lament that, like Gutter Trash is pretty much the only time that I read a comic.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and then I have thousands of comics that I've just never read.
I think I can see hundreds of them from here.
No, absolutely. At least hundreds.
Yeah.
and I would say the majority of them I've just never read, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I should read more.
Sure. Yeah.
And I would like to read more books, but let me baby steps. I'll start reading more comics.
Sure,
first,
yeah.
Which is funny though, because I've been reading the omnibus basically just before I go to bed, so like in bed, which is hard to do because it's
an omnibus.
It's 1,500 pages and a hardcover, so it's heavy and unwieldy.
You need a podium or something.
Yeah.
Like a church podium.
And so next to my bed, I've got like, stacks of comics and books. And like while I was like one-handed trying to set down the omnibus and not being very successful at it, like I knocked over a bunch of books. And like I've got like one book for sure like on top that like I set my phone down on like at night. And and then like I set my glasses on top of the Kirby book.
Right.
And so, like, I knocked over those books, and there was, like, 3 books that I didn't even know that I fucking owned, like, sitting underneath that top one that's just basically been my phone rest for the last 2 years.
I'm with you. I've got a lot of books that I totally bought with the intention of reading that I haven't gotten around to for a long time. Some of them for years.
Yeah. But, like, one for sure, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like the other 3, I was like, okay, like I totally remember buying those. Like I just forgot that I had them. I think they were like all Chuck Houston books or something like that. But then like one of them fell over and is a martial law novel.
What?
Like Martial Law,
by Pat O'Neill.
By Pat O'Neill or Pat Mills.
Pat Mills
and
Kevin
O'Neill. There are Kevin O'Neill illustrations throughout it. But it is a prose novel.
By Pat Mills?
By Pat Mills.
What?
It is the origin of martial law.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember buying it.
I've never heard of this thing. I'm super curious. Huh.
It's the weirdest thing.
I might have to borrow that, maybe?
Maybe. I'd totally
point.
let you lend it. Yeah. I was
That's
like,
so
okay,
weird.
like I love martial law. Like I love those books.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes sense that I would have bought this.
That's crazy.
I just don't remember when or how or where.
I think I've read every martial law comic I've ever seen, but I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. So, anyway, speaking of comics, I guess I should pick one.
Sure. One for us to read?
Yeah, for the show that we do.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've got one in mind that I don't actually own,
Okay.
but I'm 99% sure that you own it.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen it on your bookshelf. And I would like us to read the Tetris graphic novel by Box Brown.
Oh, yeah, I do own that.
All right.
Yeah.
Was it Tetris Games People Play?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
By Box Brown. Yeah. And I have not read this yet, so
All right.
we could do that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool.
So typically, whoever picks the book reads it first. Do you want to do it that way, or you want to just read it?
No, I mean, you own it. You're closer to it, so you read it first.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Tetris. Started to say something about Tetris, but we could just save that for next time.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Alright.
That's just how things fall into place sometimes.
Alright, bye. Thank you for listening to Gutter Trash. You can subscribe to the show from guttertrash.net or from iTunes and leave us a review. Visit guttertrash.net for email information and for other podcasts and websites in the Gutter Trash Network. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.